Greetings everyone, I'm Dabby, and I study English literature. And today, I'm excited to share my story about my life in London and my amazing teacher. You can join me and learn English along the way. But before I start, I want to share something that has been in my mind and I don't know who has this message. You owe it to yourself to live a life that's yours. I saw a video on TikTok the other day, and it said, if you don't spend enough time getting to know yourself, you'll end up absorbing everyone else's definition of you. And it hit me, how often do we let that happen? How often do we let the world, our friends, our families, and even strangers, tell us who we are? Think about it. If you don't take the time to figure out what you love, what you stand for, and what makes you come alive, someone else will decide it for you. And the scary part is, you might not even notice it happening. One day you'll wake up and realize you've been living a life shaped by everyone else's opinions, except your own. It doesn't happen all at once. When someone tells you, you're too sensitive, so you stop expressing your emotions. Or when they say, you're so quiet, you force yourself to speak even when you don't want to. Or when they imply you're not enough as you are, so you spend years trying to be someone else. And for what? To please them? To fit in? To feel worthy? Let me tell you this, no one else gets to define you. Not your friends, not your parents, not society. Only you can do that. But here's the thing, it takes work. It takes sitting with yourself, asking hard questions, and being brutally honest about what you want and who you are. It's not easy. It's messy, uncomfortable, and sometimes lonely. But it's worth it. Because the alternative, it's living your life like a mirror, reflecting everyone else's expectations but never showing your true self. It's waking up one day and realizing you don't even know who you are anymore. So, I'm asking you, right here and now. When was the last time you spent time getting to know yourself? When was the last time you asked yourself, what do I really want? What makes me happy? What do I believe in? If you don't have the answers yet, that's okay. But start asking. Start paying attention to the things that light you up and the things that drain you. Start saying no to what doesn't feel right, even if it disappoints others. Start saying yes to the parts of yourself you've ignored for too long. You owe it to yourself to live a life that's yours. A life where you know who you are and stand firm in it. Because the world will always try to tell you who you are. But you get to decide whether to listen. Now let's get started on my story. My life in London. One sunny summer day, I was on a train. Two women were sitting across from me, chatting in English. Since I am still a beginner, I didn't understand everything they said. I mustered the courage to speak with them using my basic English, and to my delight, they understood me. I told them I wanted to learn more English. They explained that they were from England and were returning home from a conference. We talked for about 10 minutes. When we reached my station, I said goodbye, and they kindly gave me their addresses and phone numbers, inviting me to visit them in England. After that day, I practiced English every day. I translated texts and watched movies in English. In 6 months, my English improved a lot, but I still wanted to learn more. So, I decided to move to London to study English in a school. My first class was on a Monday. I met my teacher and other students. My teacher was a friendly, young lady who was very kind and humble. We introduced ourselves, and then the lesson began. She asked us about our general language knowledge and told us about her simple, effective method of learning English. According to her, we wouldn't have to rely solely on textbooks. Instead, we would use English in our everyday lives. This approach was perfect for me because I had always found textbooks confusing. We also discussed what really matters when learning a new language. My teacher explained that language is a tool for communication. It helps us share our ideas and feelings. She believed that the best way to learn a language is to use it to express ourselves and talk with others. That is exactly what our course focuses on: speaking and using English as much as possible. Many students try to memorize new words and grammar rules without actually speaking the language. While it's important to learn vocabulary and grammar, practicing them every day is the key to real improvement. In our course, we focus on practicing both in a fun and simple way. I enjoy my classes a lot. We share our hobbies and talk about what we love to do, sometimes in pairs or as a whole group with our teacher. I'm really happy with this learning method. It's simple, effective, and has made a big difference in my life. Now, how did I learn new vocabulary? On Tuesday, when I went to school again, one of the students asked an interesting question. What is the best way to learn new words? Our teacher explained that there are many ways to build your vocabulary, but statistically, reading is the most effective method. When people read, they learn new words from their language and do so twice as fast as those who do not read. It is good to read for at least 30 minutes every day. I want to share what you should do to get the most benefit from reading. First, the book or text you choose must be interesting to you. Enjoy the book, whether it is a fun story, fiction, or non-fiction. Pick a topic that sparks your interest. Avoid texts that are not engaging, as they can be frustrating, especially when you are still learning many new words. Choose a text that is both interesting and suitable for your level. When you read and encounter a word you do not understand, take a dictionary and look up its meaning. This will improve your understanding of the text and expand your vocabulary. You don't need to write the word down, it will naturally stick in your memory, and you will remember its meaning when you see it again. Every time you come across a new word, use this method. Reading has another great advantage. It helps you learn not only new words but also how these words connect in sentences. You can see how to link words correctly, making this a very effective way to learn vocabulary. Try it, and you will see how quickly you can learn new words. After that, our lesson continued with a discussion about the situation in England and the best jobs for students. This was useful for me because I wanted to find a job to do in my spare time after school. I asked some students where I could find a job, and they told me to visit a job center, which offers many opportunities, especially for students. I was happy to learn this. When school was over, I went to the job center. I wasn't sure which job would be best for me, so I asked a lady there, "What is the best job for a student?" She told me that they had some good options, such as working as a cleaner or as a waitress in a cafe. I explained that I had no experience with these jobs, and she said that my English was good enough for the cafe. The training would not be difficult, and I would have more chances to speak English there than as a cleaner. She even mentioned that I could start my job on Thursday. I was very happy to have a job where I could practice my English. Remember, if you want to learn new words effectively, read for 30 minutes every day. On Wednesday, I went to school again. There was one student in the class who was quieter than the others. He was from South Korea. When our teacher asked if anyone had questions, he said he had a problem with pronunciation. He knew that his pronunciation was not very good, but he did not know how to improve it. He did not speak much because he did not have anyone to listen to him. Although he read and watched films in English and understood them well, he still wanted to improve his speaking. He asked if there was something he could do to get better at pronunciation. When my teacher heard this, she said, "Okay, I will tell you something about pronunciation and how to practice it. I will also teach techniques that can help all of you improve your pronunciation. First, let's look at why students have problems with pronunciation. When we speak, we use the muscles in our mouths, something everyone does. The issue is that when you speak English, you sometimes use these muscles the same way you do in your native language. As a result, your pronunciation can differ from that of native speakers. This happens to many students learning English. Almost everyone has a slightly different pronunciation than they ideally should. In fact, it is not a big problem because people usually understand what you want to say, even if your pronunciation isn't perfect. However, you can improve your pronunciation with a great technique called shadowing. The method is very simple. You just copy the sounds you hear. Think about how children learn their first language. They listen to their parents and copy them repeatedly until their pronunciation becomes perfect. You can learn English pronunciation the same way. Find some videos or audio recordings that are slow enough and easy to understand. Listen carefully and then repeat what you hear. That's all you need to do. Our teacher then went to www.youtube.com and searched for the shadowing technique. She found some excellent videos where the technique was clearly demonstrated. We watched one of these videos and then practiced shadowing for about 3 minutes. Our teacher explained that shadowing is also useful when you are preparing for a presentation in English. If you want to have clear pronunciation, you can go somewhere quiet and practice shadowing for about 10 minutes. You will see how much it helps improve your pronunciation during your presentation. I found this very interesting because I had never heard of this technique before. After the lesson, I went to the school reception and asked the lady if there were any sports activities at school. I wanted to play a sport in England. She said, "Yes, we have a table tennis team and a football team." She also mentioned that the football team had training at 5 o'clock today. I was very happy because sports are very important to me. I went to the football training and met many players from different countries: Brazil, Japan, Russia, Spain, Argentina, and Italy. I enjoyed the training and was glad that my time in England was off to a good start. I now have a great teacher and some new friends from my football team, and tomorrow I will even start my job. Remember, if you want good pronunciation, repeat after native speakers. On Thursday, I went to school again, and we had a new student in our class. Her name is Elizabeth, and she is from Italy. At the beginning of the lesson, our teacher asked Elizabeth some questions. Our teacher already knew Elizabeth because she had visited our class 1 year ago for a 2-week beginner's course during the summer holiday. When Elizabeth speaks, she does so beautifully. Her pronunciation is excellent, and she is very fluent. Our teacher was very happy and said, "Your school in Italy must be very good." Elizabeth replied, "I don't go to any school. I learn English at home. I use techniques that I learned from you, like reading, shadowing, and thinking aloud." I try to think in English more than in Italian. This is how I work on my English. The 2 weeks I spent in your class last summer helped me a lot. You showed me how to work on my English every day, which is why I wanted to join your class again. 1 year ago, I was a beginner, and now I can speak English. I want to learn from you again. Our teacher was very happy when she heard this and appreciated Elizabeth for her hard work. I already know about reading and the shadowing technique, but Elizabeth also mentioned thinking aloud. I wasn't sure what that was, so I asked our teacher. She replied that it is a very effective technique, but you need strong motivation to learn English if you want to benefit from it. It is also good to know that some people find this technique a bit unusual. However, when you start thinking aloud, your English can improve very quickly. I said, I have strong motivation. I don't mind if the technique seems crazy, as long as it helps. I want to learn. Can you teach us this technique? Someone asked. Okay, our teacher replied, it's very simple. You think in your native language all day. This is normal. Now, you need to start thinking in English. Once you do that, try to think aloud by speaking your thoughts out loud. That's all there is to it. When someone asked why it was so effective, our teacher suggested, maybe you can ask Elizabeth, who uses this technique. Perhaps she can share more about it. Then our teacher asked Elizabeth if she could talk about her experience with thinking aloud. Elizabeth agreed and said, when I started using this technique, it wasn't easy. I began with very simple sentences, like, I can speak English. I would say, it is good that I can speak English. I want to be better. I need to practice every day. I don't know many words, but I can use the ones I know to express my ideas. At first, I had a problem because my thoughts in Italian were long and complicated, and I could not express them exactly in English. I had to find a simpler way to think in English, and that was the hardest part. But after some time, it became normal for me to think in English. She continued, something interesting happened. I met a man from Australia who was on holiday in Italy. I was still a beginner, but we started speaking in English. I noticed that I could talk with him without any problems. My sentences were simple and short, and I no longer needed to translate from Italian to English in my head. After that meeting, I began to use thinking aloud even more. This technique helped me a lot with my speaking, and I still use it every day. It is really an effective technique. Our teacher thanked Elizabeth for sharing her experience. I also wanted to try this technique because I wanted to improve my speaking. When you want to speak English fluently, try thinking aloud. If you are reading or listening to this lesson, then, we know that your English reading skills are okay. But when it comes to actually speaking English, well, that's another story. You have probably been studying English for years, and yet, you still feel nervous, embarrassed, or self-conscious about speaking English. Perhaps you must speak slowly, and you have difficulty finding the right words to communicate. Maybe speaking good English feels like a chore. Maybe you make simple grammar mistakes that make you feel foolish. People shouldn't judge your intelligence based on your English speaking skills, but unfortunately, sometimes they do. But that shouldn't stop you from trying. You might even feel like you are too old ever to master English or any other language. We're here to tell you that nothing could be further from the truth. Anyone can become fluent in English. At any age, you simply need to find a system that makes learning as easy as possible. Stop studying and start using English. You learn by doing. Here is one extra piece of advice. If you want to become a better speaker, you need to speak more. And if you want to become a better listener, you need to listen more. Read, listen, think, and speak. Do each activity for 40 minutes every day. This is something that even teachers don't know. They want you to learn by memorizing. They want you to learn by studying grammar rules. You won't become fluent by studying rules. You must practice speaking and listening. You can read, listen, and practice shadowing with our basic English stories here on this channel. If you're learning English and found these tips helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know if you try techniques like shadowing or thinking aloud, and share your progress with us. Don't forget to click the bell so you never miss a lesson. Let's learn English together and grow as a community. Thank you and see you in my next video.